All right, hey guys, let's see if we're up and running. We're gonna do some artwork today, and probably talk about D&D and adventure creation and stuff like that. But we'll see where we settle into. I'm gonna check to see if my channel's up. Looks like I am there. Am I audible? My channel. Yeah. Okay, so I am far more audible now that I've decided to crank up my volume. Let me know if this is actually better. Is it too far? It's a pretty significant change from past streams, which are far more quiet. I'm going to do some social media postings here real quick, so I'll go through my intro and origin story real quick for you guys. My name is Phil Kearney. Hey, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish online. And we're creating an adventure here for the Eberron campaign setting in the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It'll be publishing on DMsGuild probably Q1 2025, so we still have a few months left to go. There's going to be a lot of artwork that we're going to be dropping into these books, so it takes a while to get them made. So it's a lot of fun to stream them, so you'll be seeing more and more artwork coming off of me here. Art is where I let it, okay, so I've been a DM since 1987, right? I mean, Eberron's been my favorite campaign setting since I think around 2004, and I've been making stuff on DMsGuild since 2017, so, and I've been a freelance artist since 1999, so I've been a freelance artist far longer than I've been a game designer, but I've been playing D&D since '87. The hobby is my core, and then I became an artist because of for the love of the hobby, and then I became a content creator just further because I love the hobby. But I started as an illustrator, and I still illustrate all my own books and occasionally do commissions and stuff like that. So we're going to be working on page layouts today. Before I completely cap off my intro, I'm on the X Twitter platform at Phil Kearney. If you are as well, you can follow me here to see the artwork that I post. When I go live, I like to put up a different illustration that's relevant to whatever the stream is going to be, or like as a work in progress for where we're at with different pieces. And here on YouTube, obviously this is where we're at right now. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when we are live in the future. All 339 plus episodes are compiled here on the mega playlist. All the maps, tokens, artwork that we've done, ideation, design work, all that stuff that's inside of here, all of the 339 episodes of it. Here's a slew of other books that I've made on the DMsGuild. Here is my Discord channel and my Patreon to support. We'll be doing playtesting for the Martial Powers mana system in November. So if you've been catching those streams, we might get into some Martial Powers later on today, but I could honestly just be locked up here in artwork. But I've got the Martial Powers folder here just in case we want to take a tangent into it. So this is a study hall. Stick around. I'm going to be rambling about stuff. I'll talk about whatever's on my mind when I talk about it. And otherwise, be welcome to ask me questions. If I start doing design text work, I might have to concentrate on that. But if I'm doing artwork, I can talk about whatever you want. So be welcome to ask any questions. And we'll just see what naturally percolates. And move from there. So this is the book cover. Crystals of Mabar. Everything on here is symbolic of things and events involved in the adventure that your characters will discover over the course of the game. So I'm going to get rid of that for now. This is the page art that we started with, but when we left our heroes last time, I was coming to the realization that I really need to resolve the font colors for the text. So I hastily decided to load the first 7 pages of the document without actually completing the trade dress with the font styles. So I have to actually go back in to the document here and rebuild them. So I'm going to focus here. So we're going to drop down to here, and we're going to go to styles, and we're going to go to this is the body. We're going to click on that. We're going to modify the body. Roboto is right, but I want to change the color. So let's see. Color is going to be more colors. I believe the color that I want is 120. Body of text is 120. Subtitles, like the Emerald Claw here, is 80. And then like major chapter headers, like part 1, part 2, part 3, adventure background, appendix 1, 2, and 3. Major headers like that are font color 40, 40, 40. So it goes from a light, a dark gray that's easy to watch for long periods of time, darker, bolder text to delineate attention, and then the darkest, boldest for the largest space. That's the idea. So I'm going to click OK, and then let's see, automatically update. And then, okay, bam. Okay, so the whole thing got hit. Is that going to be too light? So let's go to, style. What style is this? That's weird. Why is I wonder why the style isn't being consistent. This could end up being a bigger mess than I had thought. This is what I get for not being careful about my font setup. This is a lesson I am learning. I am learning a lesson, and yeah, I think that's gonna end up being too light. Why is the font changing like that? Hey, Ron, how you doing, my guy? Yeah. I think that is too light. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second and let's peel open. Let's go to Packs and Patrons. Yeah. Okay. What color font is that? This is the 808080. And this is 404040. Huh. I can dig it. And colors 404040. Okay, cool. That's straight. We can go with that. Drop this out of the way. We're going to be working on Packs and Patrons soon. I put out a call to the designers that I worked with and asking them if they wanted to give any feedback. Let's see. I think what I need to do is just do the entire document. The easiest way, I think, is just going to be just do the entire document and drop it all into the 80-point font, and then modify the headers. So that is what we are going to do. More colors, custom, 80. Go. And now we're going to go into design. I'm going to file and save as 1018, 1019. Once I get this resolved and I get into the artwork, I am happy to go into any kind of conversations. What I want to do is, hold on, let's go to its design, and then styles. Fonts, colors. How do I interact with this? Nope. Fonts? Nope. I know these are styles, dude. Add gallery to quick access toolbar. Design, draw, layout, reference. All right, I guess we'll just go into styles this way. New style, let's see. Create a style, apply styles. That's what we want to do. I want to be over here. Style. Modify. Font. Colors. Custom. 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. Okay. Automatically update. Good. Check, check, check. I'll catch up with your text in a sec. SEC. Okay. And now, so about the Big Bad Campaign culture that the game is in right now. When did it emerge? When and why did everyone decide that the campaign must end in an epic battle with a BBG? If you remember from our last talk. Oh, right on. Yeah, I can get into that. Hold on. Let me sort this out, and then I'm happy to rant about gaming culture. Let's see. We're working on the styles, and then here, and then we want to apply styles. Reapply. What is this? This is font 24 as well. So what color are you now? Tell me you updated. Nope. Wait, what? Why did that say font 128? Yeah, thank you. Crazy Ed? I want to apply this style throughout the entire document. Apply styles. Move, resize, close, whatever. Autocomplete style names. Apply styles. Okay, I have to search the internet real quick. I have to learn. I need knowledge. How to apply changes to style throughout document in Word. To apply changes to a style throughout a Word document, select the text you want to format, then navigate to the Home tab, find the style you want to modify in the Styles gallery, right-click it on it, and select Modify. This will allow you to change the formatting of that style, which will update all instances of that style in your document. Thank you. To apply changes to a style throughout document, select the text you want to format, then navigate to the Home tab, Find the style you want to modify in the styles gallery. All right. Here. Home. Oh, that's where styles is. Thank you. Styles. Select all. Ah. Modify. Here we go. Colors. And did that work? More colors. Yay! Oh, but that was the one we started with. Let's go find another one. Here we go. Color. More color. Hey! It worked. Fantastic. What about you? Yep. Okay. So we gotta go. Let's find all of yous. What's your size? Hey, that's perfect because we had style 24. We had style 20. 24, 20, 18, 16, and we're done. So home and styles and right click, modify. I feel like I missed a step. Home, styles, right click, select all. There we go. Home, styles, right click, modify, color, more color, custom color, 40. Automatically update and clunk. Let's go find an instance of that. Thank you. And we will font check, custom. Damn. Oh wait, you're different color, you're a different size. That's why. Because you are. No, you're also 20. Fucker. You should all have been changed. Style. Right click. Select all. Yeah. This is why I saved it as a separate document, in case something weird happened. I feel like something weird is happening. Not good. There we go. Thank you. God, give me a heart attack here. Style. Right click, modify all of them here, more colors. That's going to be okay. Okay. So did it take effect this time? Why didn't it take effect last time? Colors. It's still font 80. Why is it still font 80? Right click. Oh wait, yeah, that looks like font 80. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to have to fight with this later. But the good news is that it doesn't honestly really matter. As long as we have the base color font of 80, that's the correct font color for the body of it. And if the tiles are going to be darker, then the titles will be darker. I can come back and fuck around with this later, but I can be content with this. Yeah, so I can be content with this as is, and I can mess around with the rest of this on my own time. But I still need to extract and replace the first 7 pages of this. So let's surf back up to the top of the document, extract the first 7 pages, and then we'll drop them back into the document, and then we'll start building our page design. So we're going to export as a PDF, and then we'll get to Artsy. We can have conversations. It'll be fun. Artsy sample front and back. We want to have page 1 to 7. And then we want options. And then we'll go to pages 1 through 7. And then we'll have the document without any kind of properties or structure tagging. We'll click OK. It'll publish. It'll spit out the PDF. Thank you. These are transparent backgrounds, so you can see here's just the text. It's just the text overlay, so we can then remove that. Good, that was saved. And we can remove that. And we can remove this and simplify again. There we go. Now, okay, great. So now that we're here, we're going to open up the document again. And we'll have to peel out the pages and replace them with the new pages. 1, 2, 3. Here's 2. 1, 2. Delete that. Okay, cool. So we've got that there. Here was the Yugoloth artwork. I'm not happy with it. I think I want to change that. So I want to work on the page dressing so that we can rebuild the second page with the story overarching and this portal with the army coming out from a bar here in this mural scene. I want to, potentially use that scene to structure this Yugoloth art. Since you aren't actually going to fight the Yugoloth, let's save those changes. Let's see. We're going to, swap out page art. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're going to stack them there. So I'm going to then go over here. I'm going to open the new document that we just created, Crystals in the Bar. And here is the document we just made, pages 1 to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Cool. So here is page 7, page 6, page 5, page 4, page 3, page 2, page 1. And here's our core documents. Since I pulled these out as separate tabs, they stay floating on top of the main canvas. And since I stacked them in reverse order like this, I can just process them window by window by window through the 7 pages. So then I have them stacked up here at the top at 7. I'm going to just collapse all these folders for a moment to keep my life simple. Go back up top here. I click on this. I control click on the image, which selects the entire image. I copy it. I return to here. I paste into place. There was the page, and here is the page with the lighter font color. I delete that. 1. And then I can seal. Don't need to save that. here. I click there, copy, drop back here. I'm going to call that 2. Come back to here. Eliminate that. Once these pages are back and imported, I can start doing artwork. 3. So give me just another hot second. I didn't realize, I honestly didn't know what I was going to do today when I jumped on stream. And my heart wanted me to do artwork, and this is where the artwork's at right now. So this is what we got to do. So as a result, I wasn't prepared to do. I didn't prep this stuff because I was out last night, and that was weird. 5. Cool, we're on course. 5, and then so this is like the administrative side of the activity, the mutt work, the boring stuff, the things that occupy my attention more than I like. But like I was saying in the intro, my primary focus has always been on being an artist first. I mean, I was literally an artist before I was a designer for like nearly 18 years. So like I've got a lot of freelance roots in me that override my design urges. So I am when I don't know what to do, I default to art. Like, let's just do more art, and so on top of that, once I actually start working on a project, like once I start an art project, a new painting or whatever, it kind of consumes me. So like normally on a Saturday, I would probably do design work, but I've tasted blood in the artwork that I'm doing, you know? So now I'm starting to get rabid about doing actual artwork, which is great because I need to. It's gonna be a few months for me to be able to finish all the artwork that's going to go into this Eberron adventure, and it's the next thing to finish. So it needs to get done, and so it's really nice that I have that feedback loop inside of myself that compels me to perform the work. All right, so now we have our new font color. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to grab my pen. We can get back into artwork now. We're going to build a background. So first off, just taking a look here at how the text sits. Why does that feel like 80? What is going on? Something feels really, really weird. Son of a bitch, why is it 102? That says 80. Why is that 102? Am I mad? Okay, I just feel like I just wasted time. God damn it. Let's see what the fuck is going on inside of here. I'm about to get really pissed. Well, that says 80. Huh, okay, well. Okay, well, I think I have a cheat code for this real quick. Because I don't want to mess around with it in real time because I have no idea why the hell that happened. So I'm in a place of anger with Word right now because it's not performing the way that I expect it to normally perform. So something changed. Something is weird, and I am not going to waste stream time ferreting that crap out. But I'll happily do that when we're finished with stream today. So cheers to that. But regardless, okay. So we have black, and then we have this weird 100-point font thing going on for whatever fucking reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this slightly transparent. I think 18% should be good. And let's check it out. It is, oof, I was slightly off. It's 84. So I'm going to put this back on a dot. I'm going to go to hand. There we go. This needs to be, yeah, I guess 80%. Let's see how that sits. 82. 78. How's that? 80-point font, bitches. All right, we found it. So all I got to do is swap all of these down to 78%, and they'll all be just fine. So you can see there. That's the color that 80-point font is supposed to be. La-di-da. And then we can go to here. We can hide that. Pull this out. Oh, wait. 78%. That should put this at 80. La-di-da. Look at that. Genius shit. There. 78. That was bold of me to merge that down without checking, but la-di-da, it's good to go. Next up, you, 78. Little off. I see there's text over there. Let me catch up with you in a second. What the hell? Oh, yeah. 80. Fantastic. Merge down. Blip, blop, blip, blip, blump. $78. Well, yeah, we had some changes there. That's okay. Yeah. I updated this text. That's why it's weird like that. Quick here. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Whatever. Let's leave it screwed up. We'll fix it and then we'll drop it back in proper like as a victory lap. Spot edits. Okay, I can leave that be. I am content, or nice. All right, we're good. Merge. Almost done. 78%, and then merge down. Yep, cool. All right, mischief managed for the day. So this means that we can proceed with our page dressing. So what's up? Interesting how you don't know what to do, just make more art. Yeah. That's why, yeah, it's why I started making books, because I couldn't get a rate I wanted to freelance in the RPG industry anymore, because it globalized too quickly. So I wasn't able to compete in the freelance market against people with half or a fifth of my household income necessity. So they can provide the same people otherwheres in the world in the year 2000, or like 2006, 2008. We'd gotten high-speed internet everywhere at that point, so I was competing with people in different countries, different cultures that had different costs of living, so they could do the same work at half the cost. I can't compete against that, so I started doing private commissions, but that just ended up spilling into the work that no one else was willing to do. Like, that's kind of how you win your bids. Like, what are you willing to do and how much are you willing to do it for? And as I maintained my line on how much I'm willing to do it for, I had to start I could see the slider going towards worse stuff you're going to have to do for a price point that's still high, because all these other countries are getting into freelance commissions too. So again, getting undercut. So the best way I figured for me to get paid, for me to feel good about how much I get paid for the artwork I produce for books, I should create the book myself, so that I don't think about the artwork anymore. It's just artwork. And on the other side, I can think, how much am I getting paid for the book? So that would technically allow me a venting process to be able to use stock art from other artists at some point if I so chose. But every time I do a project and I think about it, it's like, I just want to do it myself, because I love making the artwork, and I have no idea how long it would take for me to nitpick through art that's not mine to be, well, I could have just made the artwork by now. And that's the direction I want to be in. That's where I'm at. Anyway, so having said all of that, I make books. I started making books like in 3rd edition. I had no need to make I had no need for homebrew content. I was perfectly happy with the amount of rules that were coming out in 3rd edition. That I'm like, I don't need to make up any rules. Like, there's so much stuff to do. I don't think I need to make up new rules until I've had a chance to use all the rules that already exist for me to be like, yeah, this could be better. Like, that's so. The word I'm looking for is pretentious. That was my stance back in the 2000s. I mean, that's a bold claim that you could do it better, because there was so much stuff going on. I hadn't settled into like what would be better, right? Like I just said, it's like I haven't tested the full system yet, so I don't know what's broken about it or not. And the amount of content that was being punched out by other people once the OGL was up and people were able to make third-party market stuff, I'm like, I could see that they were just making an industry out of it, but I'm like, there's no way you could have tested all of this stuff. Just the amount of stuff that you're putting out, it's ridiculous. So it kind of gave me a bad taste for homebrew content for quite some time, because it just seemed like such a money grab from people that felt disingenuous to me. So, but that was also, in my 20s and 30s, and that's the age of righteous indignation. So I was well within my rights to have that sort of a stance and attitude towards other people's content. Fucking kid. So yeah, I was a brat. I was a real piece of work when I was younger. All right, we're building a back line of pine. So we have the Stygius up front, and then we've got this elevation of pine trees further back. Because the Carnwood goes into a forest that eventually raises up into pinewood. So, hey, what's up? So, Big Bad... Yeah. That's where we're at now. Thanks, man. Let's see. So, the premise that we were talking about, just to refresh my memory... the Big Bad campaign culture that the game is in right now. When did it emerge? Okay, so you got to keep in mind that the majority of people that are playing 5th edition have never played D&D before, which probably means that they haven't played any role-playing games before. Hold on real quick. Oh, weird. I fused the sketch art into the text layer. I want to fix that real quick. There. I'm ramping into the conversation. Sorry, I'm buffering conversation points. Almost there. All right, so big bad evil guy, like boss fight stuff like that. To a certain extent, it's always existed in fiction anyway. So it's not like it's a new thing. It's just how is it being applied practically to the medium that you're using. In video games, you have a level, and then occasionally you'll have a boss fight in that level. Mario Brothers or Ninja Gaiden or Sonic or whatever. There's some sort of a boss fight at the end of levels. Often you go through a grind, and then after you skill set yourself to the place to get to the end, you have your final battle, and then you're victorious and you move on to the next level. D&D, super old school. Dungeons and Dragons had this too, like the Lost City was a first edition module, and it was you exploring a pyramid ruin that was poking up out of the sand after a sandstorm. So you go down into the pyramid, and the levels keep getting bigger and bigger as you go further down the pyramid, until you get underneath the pyramid into this Lost City space. And there's this elder evil called Zargon. I think his name is Zargon. It's effectively like a CR-22 aberration pit monster that the citizens of the Lost City would sacrifice, intelligent sentient creatures to satisfy it. And if you go down and you kill it, just like hundreds of thousands of gold worth of experience down there. You just got to figure out how to haul it all out. But that feels good there. So now I'm going to add in a new layer to start putting. I want to go like this. I think I want to darken it down a bit, and then I can just choose to lighten it up if I want. So let's put it something like that. Let's see how that feels. And we'll go into here, and we'll do like this. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. Stretch that out. So, but it's it's interesting because D&D during basically throughout Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was mostly a location-based adventuring game. It was Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss, creation of Ravenloft and Dragonlance, that started to introduce the idea of a overarching story campaign. It just didn't exist until they brought it into the scene. It was always not always, but 9 times out of 10, you're looking at a location-based dungeon where we go to these ruins to explore it. and look at all the shenanigans that are going on here for us to interact with. And there'll be somebody in charge, and they'll be attempting to achieve some sort of a goal, and none of it matters unless you want it to. So if your characters are there just to loot shit, they could be like, yeah, I don't want to deal with any of that crap. We're just going to evade anyone as much as we can, gank as much shit as we can, and get out ASAP. But if they start getting caught up in stuff and trapped, then they have to start to, to Doctor Who the situation and figure out a way to, Monster of the Week it. But that's what first edition, like box set Beckme, as well as first edition and second edition Dungeons and Dragons, and to an extent third edition, they tried to lean into that dungeon punk idea. But the core root of it is location based adventuring, where the DM creates an interesting environment for the characters to explore and interact with, to find ways that they can what it can do for them. Like, what can we exploit from this area? And if you're into role playing, what childhood core memories are unlocked by the events that the characters engage in while they're here. So that's what you do at that location, and presumably you're going to A-team the hell out of it and end the big bad evil of that location. Like, this is it's like in video games when you go to different zones. Like, there's bosses in different zones, right? I am the master of this location, of this dungeon, and at some point, if you start to make too much of a ruckus and you cause too much trouble, you will have to deal with me. So the characters can either try to stealth their way through and avoid the big bad, or they're like, yeah, we can ruffle stomp this guy. So then you go in guns blazing and take them out, and then clean up the back end. But the interesting thing, what was it? DMs of the Knights of the Game Table, I think. I forget. It's a new channel I found recently. It's he works. He does podcasts and stuff with Vertigree games, and I think he's been on Roll for Combat, but and I forget the guy's name offhand. He's just gonna pop up in my YouTube feed again. But as I listen to it more often, I'll lock in on who it is and be able to reference them in the future. So sorry for the anonymous reference right now, but the point I was trying to make. What was the point I was trying to make? Sorry, too apologetic. Sorry for apologizing. Okay, location-based dungeon boss fights. I know I was about to reference something that podcaster had made word of, and I can't recall what it is. So I'm just going to try to rewind back and just go back to whatever it was I was talking about, and if it pops up organically again, we'll go from there. But this is the problem. This is the one drawback of talking off the cuff without a script or an agenda, is that I just ramble and sometimes I get lost. So give me a second to catch my rhythm again. So, a storyline, an overarching big bad evil storyline. It's kind of like you go from location to location. Like, this is like MacGuffin hunting, right? So there's a big bad, and you need a stack of quest rewards to be able to defeat the big bad. So the motive inside the campaign is to go from one location to another, treasure hunting, so that when you when you assemble all of the lions, you form Voltron to destroy, Vecna or whatever. So the locations the locations have no purpose other than just being a stack of encounters. There's no intent of exploration that's actually you're not there because you're curious. You're there because you want to steal something, like a specific thing, and that's fine, because occasionally those are going to be the kind of location quests that your characters get hired into. But because it's part of a breakneck campaign where the only reason you're at this place is to collect these MacGuffin items, and once you do, the campaign is over. It's kind of like, well, I mean, you could have, like, there's this lab of the mad scientist, and there's a ton of stuff here, and if we weren't so pressed for time, and if this wasn't part of a bigger thing, it'd be really cool for us to hang out here and just fuck around with this, because I'd love to build constructs. I'd love to do that, and this place looks like it's made to build constructs. Like, this is a major goal that I have, but we have, like, I would love for my artificer to be able to, like, master this area and become, like, Lord of the Machines or whatever, and it would be badass. But, like, that's, since you're on a quest, you don't have the band, you know, it's beyond the scope of the current actual adventure for you to decide to take a year or two off and refurbish this facility to build, you know, robot dogs like you want or whatever. But if you're just running an open world campaign and you don't have this crazy world pressure of I gotta save the world, the only reason your characters are adventuring in the world in the first place is because they want to carve out a space for themselves. Like, what's your actual goal? Why are you adventuring? If you're running a save the world campaign setting that spans 8 levels, once it's over, what are you gonna do? Save the world again? So you have to have you want to build a campaign world that's going to have, like, and next and next. You always want to have a and then you want that to be able to just continue playing out for you. If you're like, since there are no level 1 to 20 campaigns that are really, like, maybe there's like 4 or 5 of them on the market. I think maybe there's not a lot of 1 to 20 level campaigns that exist out there that are just prefabricated. So the way that the way that first edition would do it is, here's like 100 adventures. Go ahead and assemble a stack of them from level 1 to 20. And if you want to go through all, like, here's all, you can blend all of these different 32 to 64 page booklets into a mega campaign, like a 300 to 500 page mega campaign from level 1 to 20 for your level characters. Except back in Beckmead, they went up to level 36. So it'd be like, here's 20 books that'll get you from level 1 to 36. It's 600 pages worth of adventure content, right? So if you're looking at it old school style, if I need like 500 pages to get my character to go from nobody to retirement legendary status, that's 600 pages of content. Meanwhile, Wizards has a book that might be 290 some odd pages, all things in, for a 6 level campaign. You see the difference there? The scale of just leaving it up to the players. Like, here's the location, here's the stuff that's going on inside of it. If they're here, you already have some sort of context in mind as to why for them to be there. So instead, they just focus in the adventure packet. What's at that location? Who's there? What they're trying to achieve there? Where the conflicts are at, and what your character, and then a description of everything, so your character's going to decide what to do. Which is how I structured this Eberron adventure. It's like, here's the location, here's the things that they're trying to achieve, here's why they're doing it. And while this one is broken into 3 parts, from location outside the manifest zone, in the manifest zone, and then at the nexus, those are the 3 locations in this adventure. They're just location based, and it's like, here's what they're trying to achieve in this area, and the timing is loose, so your characters have the freedom to leave and come back if they need to, for like rest or whatever. If you're adding it as part of a larger campaign, you can scope out, so there's more stuff for them to do before they get into the manifest zone. But it's but beyond beyond this 2-level adventure, it's like there's nothing else going on here. So drop this into your campaign. So like in the appendices, we're like how to drop this into an ongoing campaign, or how to use this to launch further campaign adventures in like a dozen different directions. It's like, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do with this, here's ideas you can run with, build your game. And that's a very first edition mentality of D&D. So WotC the Dragonlance adventures was an ongoing chain with pre-made characters that had to hit specific plot points to be able to move into the next adventure. So it became a sequential event that if you glom onto, you're basically getting hooked into buying multiple products, multiple books. But these were also like 64-page things back in second edition. So they were still small, but they were pieces that kept adding to a larger thing. So like before we leave this adventure and head into this adventure, like I was saying, like here's a stack of 20 adventures, go for it yourself. Instead, Dragonlance was like, here's 6 adventures that'll take you from like level 1 to 8 or something like that. Like we see in the modern day. And in the modern day, we put them all in one book. But back then, it was like, here's like 6 different adventures that you can run. They're meant to be ran one after the other. But they also assume things happened in the previous adventure. So again, it has to be more railroaded so that the upcoming events are logical and foreshadowed as a good story. You're foreshadowing stuff because you've already decided what's going to happen in 4 levels, which means that your characters don't really have any choice and control at all, which is really what this conversation is about. Not so much about big bad evil guys, but about the structure of adventures that assumes everything is leading up to you fighting that big bad evil guy, instead of it being a monster of the week attached to the location of the dungeon that you're messing around with. So the storytellers in us naturally want to have some sort of ongoing meaning, but for those of us that started as DMs and never like really intended on creating a plot, I'm just running the game, right? And so the plot was emergent, quote unquote. It would just emerge as a result of the different shit that your characters ran into. It's like, what do you guys want to do about this? It's like, well, I think I want to create a diamond business. Like, let's start mining diamonds out of this dungeon. And then that becomes your adventure, dealing with all the shenanigans that's going to come up with you trying to monetize this hole in the ground. Like, that's serious D&D adventure stuff. Like, that's real life, you know? Like, that's how we really played. I like that, but it's left up to the player, like to the DMs, the individual DMs, to decide how this stuff flows. And like 32, 64-page publications are so cheap, WotC can't make any money off of those. So they have to sell these big flag, these tent pole adventure ideas. 84. Because it's just not profitable for them to make 32-page books, you know? Like, what are you trying to do? That's insane. Why isn't this ringing true? There's something weird going on. Hold on. $100. That's 84. Oh, that's where it is. Okay, so that's 49. That's what was screwing me up. There. That's the true. See, it's too dark though. So that needs to be lightened up. Although it doesn't necessarily have to be too dark. Oh yeah, I really want to make sure this guy's head stands out properly. Down here, but I could add in a new layer. Yeah, this layer on top of that. It's because the adventures have less and less content. As the people had less time to play. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't that they had less time to play. As you get older, you have less time to play. But when I was in my 20s, I was playing D&D 5 days a week. I was playing D&D in my 30s 3 days a week. And it wasn't until I got into my 40s that I reduced D&D down to just once a week. Like, so I don't think that was the issue. It's the mentality. It's losing sight of the purpose of location-based dungeons in general, I believe. I'm gonna do that. Ooh, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. That's fun. I like that. Did I lose my train of thought, or did we, or was that, or was that settled? I never recaught that thread on what it was that I remembered about that podcast I was talking about, or I was rambling through. Completely derailed me. Text. What even is a dungeon? A dungeon is an enclosed environment with limited movement options that have different locations of challenges and rewards. Essentially, that's I'm structuring it like as a textbook answer, but that's, I'm just kind of BSing. But yeah, it's a dungeon is a location. The location has threats and rewards throughout it, and it also has to have limited options for maneuvering. Right, you're maneuvering through a space, and the fact that your movement is hindered and that you have to make specific choices about where to move next. I'm gonna put this over that, like that. That's how you come about traps. Like, I can either go left or right. There's the only two choices I have. Left has a trap, right has a monster. So depending on which direction you choose is going to sculpt what challenges you face and when. And that random nature of it, of like these things exist inside of this environment. And as you discover them, they deplete your resources, but you gain rewards in the process of it. So you're pushing yourself through the space to collect more reward before you take too much risk. And so a forest, or like a cliffside could be a dungeon, because like while you're maneuvering along the cliffside, if you go that way, you die because you fall off the cliff. And you can't go this way because it's too vertical of a sheer. So this cliff path that you're walking on, it's a railroad, But if there's a network of these, like if there's like a network of plateaus or like little like spikes of stone that come out of the ground hundreds of feet in the air, and you have like these ridgeways that wind along those paths, but then you have like rope bridges that attach these plateaus to the larger cliff surface so that you create these isolated little spots that your team can navigate to separately. That's an outdoor space that, as long as they can't fly, would be like an open dungeon, because there's locations that they can't just get to. They have to maneuver through these channels to get to it. In this open dungeon idea, you'd see where you're trying to go to, but that doesn't mean you can actually get there without moving there. That would be a little interesting, like if there was like a lot of ranged combatants that they could see you approaching and like you're 100 feet apart. They're just lobbing longbow fire at you constantly. So like you'd have to close distance by going along these rope bridges to close with them to be able to eliminate them. They don't want to cut the rope bridges because this is their home, and that rope bridge serves a really good purpose. It'll be really suck if we break it. So they aren't motivated to destroy the bridges, but maybe your characters don't care, so they are. But because they're not familiar with the region, they won't realize, like, if we set, like, cutting that bridge fucked us, we're now limited to this space. That becomes a new challenge that they have to be able to overcome to move through that space. You see, by controlling the space in some manner, you control the options and decisions that they have to make, and that becomes the challenge of them learning how to, like conquer the environment, the enemies that are within, and to extract the treasure and reward for having attempted it in the first place. Does that make sense? Like the Astral Sea is not a dungeon. Like the open sky is not a dungeon. A forest. It could be a dungeon if there was like ravines or like impassable hedges, for instance, and ways that you get bound to the environment with channels of movement that force you to make like physical decisions about your location and how you're interacting with stuff. So, yeah. I wonder if we can revive the exploration-based dungeons, if they could be expanded to like natural environments and such, or just not traditional prison. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of like, when I say like mega dungeon, that's kind of a misnomer. You've unlocked one of the hidden conversations for today, which is dungeon design. I'm going to take a quick tangent here and dive into that. So you have, I think I may have talked about it before, but you may or may not have caught wind of it. So I'm going to pontificate about dungeon design here, and I'm pretty happy with this. So the next thing that we're going to do from here on this page is we're going to start working on the page dressing, like the actual background color, to take away this white font, this white base background. But before we get into that, let me drop down here. That's layer 1. Layer 1 here, and we're going to go with 1. And here's 2. Let's conceal 3. Yeah, we got work to do. All right, cool. So, but before we do, okay, so Mega Dungeon, right? The idea here. What do I do? All right, so this is just going to be a quick little ramble. We've talked about the 5-room dungeon build before, which is a good way to frame things. You have 5 rooms, and they'll be attached to each other in some way or another. There are 4 types of... Hold on. And I forget who first came up with the 5-room dungeon idea. So Alexandria or Jacques, I don't remember who, but maybe it was. I don't think it was Sly Flourish. Anyway, there's the Guardian. There's the Trap. There's the Puzzle. There's the Boss. And there's the Treasure. ideally, any one of these rooms can be any of those things. But logically, the treasure is going to be the most difficult to get to. Something, did I just lock up? Yeah, I did. Okay. So in this instance, we have like one way in, and then you get to room 2, and room 2 will either be a guardian, a trap, or a puzzle, most likely. And then, so you go through room 2, and you'll either choose to go to 4 or you'll choose to go to 3, and both of them lead to 5. So if 5 is where your treasure is at, then like say the boss is here. Here's your treasure. Maybe there's a puzzle here that would allow you to get the treasure without having to fight the boss if you're clever. And so the trap would be like maybe the trap is at the entrance. It could be a guardian. And then the guardian would be here, right? So this is your basic dungeon environment. And if you're building a cascading dungeon, then the treasure is not only some sort of gold, instead of a dollar sign, we'll do either gold, and or XP, right? You're gaining reward for this treasure. And just as a quick tangent, in BECME, BX, original D&D, when they created this stuff, you got 0 gold for killing monsters. 0 XP. You only get gold. Like, gold is the only form of XP. So every piece of gold that you extract from the dungeon becomes a piece of experience point. So if I get 3,000 gold out of the dungeon, and then I throw it, like literally just disintegrate it, like it gets turned to dust. But narratively, it's described as having like this complete banger party where you spend 3,000 gold in town this weekend on a bender that is just legendary. And it's that experience of you enriching the town with your reward that is what creates the experience that you gain as a character. You could keep that gold and buy new gear and magic items and research stuff and build a castle or whatever, or you throw it away and gain experience points. But you don't get both experience points and gold. It's one or the other. So, but back then, a magic sword +1 was basically a level of fighter. So, like the magic economy was different. But having said that, the treasure is the actual goal. The boss is the same kind of problem that a trap, a guard, and a puzzle is, and that is completely unnecessary. You don't need that boss to gain a level. You need the fucking treasure. And then you decide how much of this treasure do we want to keep for our pocket, and how much of it are we going to piss away to gain a level. And that was a core tenet of how dungeons used to operate. So, but having said that, as a piece of context, the way that you can build a mega dungeon is that the treasure is expanding this into another 5-room dungeon. So the treasure becomes a doorway that leads to the next 5 rooms. So part of the treasure that you get is access to more dungeon space. So, and as you continue going through these dungeons, this 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you get through that dungeon, that becomes 1, which becomes a dungeon, which becomes a dungeon. So this is effectively 1 room. This is effectively 1 room. This is a room, this is a room, but each one of these rooms is 5 rooms. So these become little microsystems, which, to your point, is there still the opportunity to do like outside environments and stuff. Each one of these 5-room dungeons could be like biomes. They can have different types of biomes. Like this, like when you defeat this dungeon, it's you were underground and it opens up into a ravine. And so now there's these mountain crags that you're maneuvering around on these rope bridges and stuff. It's kind of like, imagine like Path of Exile or like Diablo. I think Diablo 4 has mapping as well, where you have like these random maps that generate these environments, monsters, and treasures that are inside of them. And you're just cascading. Like when you defeat a map, one of the treasures you get is more maps, so you can keep doing it. This is sort of that same idea, except that you'd be cascading from one dungeon into the next, from one environment to another. And I'm calling it planeswalking. So your planeswalker characters in the Magic the Gathering setting, they can jump from one reality to the next. And the way that you do that is by going through the blind eternities. That's what they call it. This space between worlds. So if we structure the blind eternities to be like a dungeon space where you enter the blind eternities as a 5-room dungeon, and as you're moving from dungeon space to dungeon space, it's offering you opportunities to drop into these different instances of realities that will have different color alignment, monsters, treasure that are associated with them. And you could either push further down into that reality into its own little mega dungeon fractal, or you could back out of this biome and then let's go back into that cliff environment. Let's see what's going on with the cliffs. That sounds cool. Like, hey, I just picked up flight. So us being able to, like, abundant step, for instance, if we all take abundant step, we can jump from these plateaus to plateaus without necessarily needing a bridge. So we can potentially conquer these dungeon spaces easier. Let's exploit that mechanic, and let's play with these dungeons. And as you're going through these, like these cavern systems, each zone of cavern can have its own little 5 dungeon space. So you're moving from zone to zone into smaller areas, kind of like that scope idea of a 5-foot square becomes a 50-foot square, becomes a 500-foot square. You can have 5-room dungeons inside of each other. I had played with that a little bit with you guys in the hex crawl that we were doing, that once you got onto the whole map was its own 5-room dungeon, and there was the sky islands, and once you got onto a sky island, there was various buildings in the sky island, and each one of those, like the buildings on the sky island, was a 5-room dungeon. And once you chose one building to go into, that became a 5-room dungeon as well. So it was like this scaling down in scope from a world environment of a 10-mile space to now we're on the sky island, which is a 1-mile space with multiple buildings on it. And then you go into one of those buildings that are anywhere from like 100 to 500 feet in size apiece. And once you conquer all that stuff, that whole sky island is down. But you guys were in the process of taking out the wyverns when we dropped the campaign, and I decided to move the campaign in a different direction. But that's one iteration idea of this scaling scope. So this other idea can be, we can have a number of different environments, but if it's too much of an open space, like a field or something, then you're back into a hex crawl and you're just wandering around. I want to create a controlled environment where you are making decisions to move from location to location, because each location can have something to eat your mana with. It's like monsters fighting monsters, mana. Traps, disarming traps, working through them, mana. Puzzles that require some sort of coding or just a flat-out tax to get through, mana. So every room can do something that is going to use or exploit mana usage. And since the whole game is about every character in the game now has mana to use, I can start building things that are keyed into that and as a different sort of environment. That's the idea. So that's what I want to play with. So it will, and in dungeons, like a level. That's what it was. God, I think it was. I don't remember the name of the guy. I'm sorry, but anyway, the point I was trying to make was that he had pointed out that back when they were making mega dungeons in first edition, each level of the dungeon was equal to the level of your characters. So a first level dungeon has challenges that first level characters can defeat, and rewards worthy of getting to second level. Go down to second level of the dungeon, that is second level adventure shit. Your second level characters are capable of dealing with this stuff down on the second level, and the rewards that you get will get you to third level. You could get rewards at first level and eventually gain third level, but the amount of experience you need from first to second is a lot less from second to third. And since in Beckme, you didn't gain experience from fighting monsters, it was a matter of, I need to find enough treasure for us to gain a level, but God, I need 5 times the amount of treasure now, which means I have to potentially fight 5 times the amount of monsters. And And that's a lot of encounters. I'm wasting a lot of time spinning my wheels trying to keep myself safe from annoying creatures as I'm trying to find a pile of loot large enough to be worth my time. I have to delve deeper because the treasure I get off of these weak monsters is wasting my time in combat. It's not fun. I'm not getting progress. So I have to delve deeper. So the ideal mega dungeon has as many levels as your characters are willing to spend in the dungeon. In a D&D campaign of 5e, it would be 20 levels. It would be a 20-level mega dungeon, right? But you can't contain characters in a mega dungeon after 11th level because they get access to plane shift, teleport, etherealness at 13th level. Those are all 7th level things. 12th level is your cap because although they have Dimension Door, which will allow them to move from one level to another at 400 feet maximum distance. Like once you get Arcane Gate and stuff like that, Arcane Gate's 5th level, so you could technically penetrate down deep into a dungeon and be able to extract yourself out easily if you hold on to 10 points of mana. If you have a 9th level wizard on your team. But then there's also clerics have Word of Recall, which are Word of Recall is 6th level, and Atonement or Attunement. Let me double check that actually. So I'm pretty sure these things don't come online until 9th and 11th level. But they're just ways for you to move in space. You can't just completely ignore the dungeon using Arcane Gate and Word of Recall will get you out, but you got to walk back in. It's like you have this limited scale of engagement. So spells. Let's go with Arcane Gate. Oh, 6th level. Okay, Arcane Gate is 6th level. How about Word of Recall? Also 6th level. So these are just mortal things, like to get into and out of the dungeon. Like I know, like our 9th level, our 6th level characters, our 11th level wizards. Like, yeah, we've got 10 levels of bullshit. Tell you what, why don't we just jump down there using Arcane Gate, and when we're done, the cleric can pull us out with Word of Recall. That's 2 6th level spell slots that your team is burning. That means that your cleric and your wizard at 11th level are holding on to their best magic of the day just to get in and out of the dungeon, which means that your 11th level characters are still running on just 5th level magic 5th level magic as a 9th level as 9th level full casters. So a mega dungeon can keep characters occupied through 11th, 12th level. 13th level they can start leaving if they want to because of etherealness and teleportation. It becomes an option for them to come and go if they please. So that's why that's generally why you see the focus on dungeon crawling ending around double digits, because that's about when it stops becoming effective. But we see there you can effectively keep characters in an environment. If they have a reason to be in an environment, they will have to deal with that environment up through 12th level. At 13th level, they can teleport out. They can opt in and out of stuff real easily. A lot more easily. Like you can Arcane Gate in and then teleport out. Or you can like teleport in and then Word of Recall out. Once teleportation, etherealness, astral travel, once those things are queued up for your characters, you can't hold them in any space. You can't hold them in any physical space anymore. If they want to, they can go anywhere that they want, period. And you can't stop them without DM bullshit shenanigans, contrived reasons to keep them in place. So if we're going to run a campaign from level 1 to 10 in a mega dungeon, your characters are, for the most part, are going to be bound by the rules of that dungeon. So the idea here is that I can set up biomes at this five room dungeon, like basically just have a series of 5-room dungeons built, and we can just randomize the color like before. So like we have a red theme here, and then that leads into a white theme, which leads into a blue theme. And as long as I have on cue the next biome, we can have that biome influence the one that you guys are currently in as you get towards the end of it. But it's still basically just a 5-room dungeon. So, but each room can be expanded out to more rooms, just depending on how I want to do it. So, but that's the general idea. We'll have that level 1 that you guys can skim across and engage with until, well, you'll start at level 3. So we'll have a third level dungeon. And then when you move through these biomes, you'll see that, well, yeah, if we continue in this direction, this is going to take us to 4th level stuff. Are we ready for that? Yes or no? Otherwise, you can back out and then go down a different pathway in the Blind Eternities and end up in a different biome and explore that environment as well. But it's still going to be an enclosed space. So just because of the tenets of how the Mega Dungeon is designed, I'm cool with mixing up the biomes that they're inside of, but it's still going to be, to some extent, a concealed space. Like that cliff scenario, that would be like in a massive geode. It wouldn't just be open sky and like, okay, great, let's go home. But it could be. Like the way that Mega Dungeons were built in Beckme is that if it is a true like 20 level dungeon, like every 5 levels, you're going to want to have some sort of access point so that they don't have to worry about going through 4 levels just to get back to 5th level to start again, and certainly not 10th level. So you want to have these breach points that they can discover at different, as they continue down the dungeon, it leads to different areas that can allow them to get home. So you have to kind of think about like, where is a Mega Dungeon located at? And in our example with the Blind Eternities, this is just, your character could just planeswalk. So like as a 10-minute ritual, or if we wanted to as an action, you can like step sideways, and then you're now in the Blind Eternities, and now you have these passageways of colors that lead you to different realities or locations. So that's the idea. So I'm going to conceal that for a second. I'm going to go to DMsGuild, and let's go find Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica. I just want to grab a screenshot real quick of page dressing. Here's our base color. It's a little bit off-white. But if we look here at the bottom of the page, just a little off. Then I want to go to Spelljammer, Combat, and Exploration. Let's peel this one open. So this book is a lot of fun because it has these navigation buttons that take you to different chapters in the book. And I want to have another little fun element like this in the Eberron adventure, but I haven't quite figured out what those navigation buttons are supposed to be, or like what the user interface that I'm going to build into the thing, like how's that going to look. So that's one of the things that we're kind of messing around with today. Grab this. Hey, how is our time? What are we looking at? It's only 10:45. Holy hibiscus. We're doing great. do something like that and that. I'm going to conceal. Yeah, this is a good place to start. I've got 2 colors here. Let's see how things shake out. I want it like that, or do I want it lighter on the bottom and darker at top? Or do I want to have like a dark, like a light around the edges and then darker in the middle? Hey, there's Tex. What's up? Why does old D&D have so many dragons and monsters in dragon magazines and such? Sorry, no, you're fine for asking questions. I really want to learn about the history of the games. Why are tabletop RPGs the way they are? Right on. Because so the idea is that you have to overcome challenges to earn rewards. And a classic trope of that paradigm is a dragon horde. The dragon is an incredible creature that is nigh indestructible, but if you can somehow trick it or defeat it or steal its treasure, it has tons of treasure. Like it's pretty classic in D&D that like you kill a dragon in its lair, and if it's old enough, it'll have like 200,000 pieces of gold. There was one dragon magazine adventure, the first dragon magazine. It was fighting a red dragon in its lair, and it had an entire pirate ship in its dragon's lair that it picked up and carried off because it was full of gold. And just dropped it into its lair, and it's poured out like a cornucopia. Just all this gold is poured out. And it's like and it's just been collecting treasure ever since then. So it has like these paintings and like a throne and shitloads of magic items that are just like buried in the gold. So it becomes like even just defeating the dragon. After you've defeated the dragon, now you have the logistical nightmare of how do I get all this fucking loot out? Because every 50 pieces of gold is a pound. No, I'm sorry. In original Beckme, 10 pieces of gold was 1 pound. And 1 gold piece was worth an experience point. So experience points weighed 1 pound. And you don't get to cash them in until you get out. So you had to find your way back out with all this loot. So like, and that was something else that came up recently in that podcast I was talking about. And it was right. It's like, this armor weighs 40 pounds. Maybe it's worth throwing it away if that means that you could take this gem and you can get 40 pounds of these gems, because each one of these gems is worth 500 gold. So this 1 pound is now 500 experience instead of being 10 experience. So as you ratchet up in levels, your carrying capacity doesn't really expand, but the value of the stuff that you extract does. So you're still having the same action loop of, I can't carry anymore. I'd love that 30,000 gold piece throne to come with us, but it literally weighs a ton. I don't know how to carry it. So that becomes its own adventure, getting that goddamn throne out of that cave. before monsters come in and start eating the dragon and take control of the lair, and now we got to do it all over again. But because that was a serious, the larger the reward, the larger the risk has to be, and traps can only be so dangerous. Wandering monsters are what they are, but the boss fight is the guardian of the treasure. Guardians guard the lair of the boss. So like you have these like this Russian doll of different things that lead to more of the same different things. So, but yeah, the reason why the big bad boss exists is because it was supposed to be indication of how valuable the treasure is, promised beyond that creature. And the game didn't care how you got past it. You could negotiate with it. It's like, oh, I came here because I heard that you really needed some pumpkin spice coffee. I brought you some pumpkin spice coffee. And in exchange, I'd like to go extract a piece of wealth from your treasure. Now, you know, that's not a very adventurous solution, but it might get you through the door to case the place so that you can try to find weaknesses or something and then come back and rob it later. Like, that's a scheme I could see players doing pretty easily. And then it translates, and then this big bad evil boss that you have in this lair, they're like Zelda and stuff like that. They're just kind of like there for one scene and then they're dead. But if you create a big bad evil guy, Vecna or whatever, across the scale of the campaign, that becomes like a recurring villain. It's supposed to trigger this like this vendetta reflex inside the characters of, oh, I want to get that guy, and I don't care what it takes to put an end to him. It's like, oh great, let's create a bunch of obstacles that prevent you from doing that. And which is appropriate game design, only to the point where it's satisfying to the players to be like, if like I've talked about, like playing with a dog like a chew toy. It's like you want to wrestle with the chew toy. It doesn't want to just get the toy. It wants to wrestle with you, getting the toy from the dog. And so you creating obstacles to the character's end goal is that sort of wrestling with the dog. The players being the dog, and you wrestling with them with the plot points and the goals and the villains and stuff like that. You don't want to you know, if a dog gets bored playing, they just let go of the rope and walk away or lay down or something, like they're done. And we can telegraph that a little bit more as players ourselves, but that's ultimately what's going to end up happening as well. Is like once the players are bored with a theme, they're done with it, and they just start tearing your campaign apart or quit. That feels, I think, better. That's pretty easy on the eye. Which is ultimately, we wanted to get rid of the white, so that it's easier on your eye. Here's white, reading the text, and it might not seem like a lot, but when we add that on, see, it softens it a little bit. We just want to soften the space so that your eye can just more easily sit on the information that it's receiving. Let's get that out of the skibidi-doop-doop-doop. Hold on. What is this weirdness I'm seeing? Oops, looks like I doubled up somehow. So let's erase that, because that doesn't exist. Yeah, we made changes. Okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Hold on. Is that true?
What's up? From Dragons, we went to BBG because it's easier to just write long adventures to make a lot of money because big books, and then a small book with a couple of rooms.
Right. Yeah, because like seriously, there were like 32-page pamphlets. They weren't that, like, maybe they'd have like 40 rooms in them, maybe something like that. So like some interesting maps, and then you'd have like if there's 40 rooms, like 8 of them would be empty. Because it's just breathing rooms. You're not just constantly doing stuff. So occasionally, like a puzzle room would be a blank space instead of a puzzle, or instead of another trap, it'd be a blank space. So your characters just have a moment to reflect on stuff, not be overly pressured, or have someplace to run to without having to immediately have another threat. Stuff like that. Let's put this back in. Put a lock on that. Sketch. There. Since I marred the text on this one, let's go to, yeah, this is a good one. Okay, this is where we should be right now. Yeah, look, all that just seems to sink in together just much more nicely now with that little extra touch of color. Yeah, I think it's subtle, but I think I'm good with it. This is our official scrap drawer. And I'm going to merge down. This is going to be background. I'm going to put a lock on that one. Text gets a lock. Locked already. Lock it. Lock it. Lock it. Lock it. Lock it. This is just the page I chose to work on, so this is the page we're working on. People. Place. Place back up. Back tree line. Can merge that down. Don't need that. Lines. Deciduous. Do not need these. Don't think I need. I want to do a little bit more of a fade back there. So I'm going to grab that. So, yeah, I don't want to have like another 10-mile space. It's I mean, we can change things up as the campaign goes along. But for now, the lesson that I learned from the hex crawl that we were doing is that there was too open of a space with too much empty time in between locations. If I have a dungeon environment, it's literally giving you tracks to run down to go find the next thing to spend mana on, because the point of the playtest is to spend mana. And I got a little sidetracked with last time I was playing with you guys, and that was my fault. But I was interested in seeing if the hex crawl system would work, and it did. And I was a little infatuated with it, but I was losing perspective that the goal is to spend mana to be testing the thing that the players showed up to be willing to test. And so I think a dungeon environment will, especially at low levels, will be a much better way for us to focus that. So I think I definitely want to do 3, 4, 5, and 6. By 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th level, I would be open to exploring a different motif, a different theme. But I could easily see spend 2 weeks finding monsters in a dungeon at 3rd level. Now you're 4th level. 2 weeks, 4th to 5th level. Like that's actually a decent clip, because if I'm going to lay down like if I have 20 rooms of a dungeon prepared for you guys at 3rd level, if you chew through all of that, that's going to be a good day. Like that's a good. I don't think you could like a 3 or 4 hour adventure. I suspect we'd be able to get through like maybe 10 rooms, depending on how interested you are in the stuff that's in it. It feels like a fairly natural pit tempo. Blend this in. There. So it feels like a natural fit, but not too abruptly. I just really want to just blend these off into a really smooth gradient into the environment. Sorry, I'm focusing here for a second. There we go. Okay, that feels good. And then here we can just blend this in like that. That feels good. What's up? Boop. And even if you turn these into biomes, they're still going to be small. No, like the adventure books that are just dungeons. I'm sorry, I've lost context. The adventure books, they're just dungeons you explore. That sounds like a response question, but I don't know what you're responding to at this point. I'm sorry. But yeah, they'll be closed environments. Like this will be like this dungeon will be like lava themed, or they could be they'll be enclosed spaces no matter what. There's not going to be like any open sky anywhere, unless it's specifically planned as like as an exit point for gaining levels. but they could be large in size. I mean, like they could be like a 100-foot roof, as opposed to like a 15-foot roof ceiling. It just depends on it depends on what we're going to random our way into at different points. I feel like I should. Let's go with right. So we're gonna have right, left, and middle. Is apparently how this is gonna get laid out. Middle. Left. And middle is going to be the Red Wolves. And then Emerald Claws on the left. I wanted to make an insignia for the Red Wolf Company. And I wanted to, let's grab Blood of Bull. Open link. Fine, open link. The Blood of Bull. Which is the religion of the Emerald Claw. Open link. That's hardcore. A cleric puts the Nightclaw at use. Good job, cleric. Let's let's just copy that. Gang. What other cool shit can we find up in here? And let's go with Emerald Claw Eberron. Seeing some parallels here. Interesting. Purple. Cool. All right. Some claw bits.
Previous question I asked. Oh, okay. We went from BBG because it's easier to just write long adventures to make a lot of money because big books than small books with a couple of rooms, like the adventure books that are just dungeons. Oh, yeah. Right. So you have to have a unifying theme. Otherwise, it's just like Tales of the Yawning Portal or Infinite Staircase. Those are anthology books, whereas a slew of different isolated adventures. Which is sort of like taking a bunch of books and putting them in the same binder. But yeah, they're all different location themed stuff. Yawning Portal is heralded as one of the better books that WotC published because it's just taking old first edition adventures and updating it to 5th edition. So like, no wonder they're good. They don't have to add a lot of plot in for themselves because they're very basic location based dungeons.
What is this outline? That's a very dark green. Let's go to Blood of Vol. Let's check this out. A very sharp red. I want something that's a little less saturated. Yeah, like, actually. I'm going to take this up to the top. We're going to call it reference. I go back down here. Page 3, right hand side, left hand side, we're in the middle. Thank you. In the middle. So let's be bold. We're just going to be bold for a bit. I'm going to just drop this in as a background. I'm just kind of playing with colors right now. I'm going to take this very, very dark green here. Push that over into this space. Messing around with the Christmas of Death. Right, so when you blend the red and the green, it starts to stabilize out as like a brownishness, I guess. So I can safely blend across these colors. I have a sort of cascade going on. Let me blend in here for a bit. I better take this and drop them down here to keep them safe and secure. I think you have more text going on there, Rel. I'm kind of hit and miss with you today, buddy. Like the one with even if you turn them into biomes, they're still going to be small. The dungeon exploration, pamphlets, adventure books. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'm not thinking about a product. Are we talking about like me publishing stuff? Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. I wasn't really like planning on publishing the Sky Islands with the Wyverns, for example, or like the Steam Vents. I could, I guess, but like I wouldn't publish them like as books. I would probably just like make them as like little things on my Patreon. Yeah, now I understand what we're talking about. Yes, I do plan on publishing the toolkit, the toolkit for the Hex Crawl and the toolkit for the Blind Eternities dungeon crawl sort of ideas. Yes. And so, yeah, I guess I would be publishing examples of them, but I wouldn't be making like an ongoing quote-unquote product out of creating different biomes. But those would be like building biomes like that would be like a really good perk for me to put on my Patreon. Once I build the thing, it's like, hey, here's a like just like with
character stuff. Like I'm not going to publish the Echo Knight because the Echo Knight isn't officially Wizards to publish. So I'm going to make a Powers version of the Echo Knight and have that on my Patreon as like a free thing, you know. I'm all mutt speaking at you. So yeah, it would be. I could create a biome which would be like the 10-mile map, and then have the points of interest in that 10-mile map, and have each of those be 1-mile maps. Now there's 10 1-mile maps, and each one of those 1-mile maps could have 5 points of interest inside of them. So now I've got 50 points of interest inside that 10-mile map. It gets a little crazy. So like I don't think my goal is to bore down and detail everything. I think what I want to do is provide an example at each level, of each level, like the 10-mile scale, the 1-mile scale, the 500-foot scale, and then the 50-foot scale. I think I'd want to have like 1 or 2 examples of each of those to show how you can nest them, but then provide random tables to generate them. So it's like, here's what I generated with these maps, and here's how it looks. You can do the same, that sort of thing. Because like there would be no end to the amount of maps I would be making or amount of monsters I would be designing. Like it's literally infinite through just random generation like that, and that's not. I don't think ultimately that's my calling to make things like that, but being able to make things like that whenever I want is fun. And posting it on my Patreon as a reason for people to engage with that content isn't a bad idea. So, but we'll see how things come along. Because I can publish anything I want on my Patreon as long as it's free. It's always, you know, fan content, and the people that then pay me to be on my Patreon, it's not so much. Again, it's not I'm paying you to get access to this stuff. It's I'm paying you to encourage you to continue making more of it. Since you're making it for us, we want to cheer you on with money, so that you can do more of it, so that you find it worthy of doing more of. And that's kind of how you find your tribe. So things on the DMsGuild that I'm publishing are things that they control the IP of, but I'm not spending a lot of time diving into like the Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica. The only reason I did that was because of the guild mage idea of a warlock being a guild mage in the Ravnica setting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered, because there's no money in creating little micro systems like that. Because it's too, like, if you dive into too niche of a topic, it becomes unrelatable, and your audience segments, and you get a very small portion of audience actually interested in the material that you're making. They may be very loyal, but they aren't necessarily, like, they'll swing by and see what you're doing, but they don't hinge on what you've got going on. So they aren't, like, if you're trying to build a stable monetary, you know, revenue base, then that's not a very reliable thing to lean on to. I mean, naturally, of course I would love to do this stuff full time, but I'm also practical. It's like I'm not gonna quit my day job until I've basically replaced my income, which could be never. I make a lot of money in the real world, so this stuff is barely a fraction of the money that I make in my day job. So my day job affords me the opportunity to be able to do this stuff as a hobby, and to not be worried about the outcome of it, so that I can pursue the principles that I feel are right. And if I stay true to what I think is the right thing to do, and I continue to demonstrate that, then I'll eventually resonate with the people that may eventually lead me to being able to step away from my day job and do this stuff full time. if I were to be full-time, I would be able to have like 3 playtest games a week going. I'd be able to split my day between like 4 hours of artwork in the morning and then 4 hours of artwork in the afternoon. Like 6 to 10 and then like 2 to 6. Of doing artwork in the morning and then game design in the evening. Like 2 to 5 game design in the afternoon, and then from 5 till 9 run a playtest game. And I could have 3 playtest games a week, and then I could have my Saturday brunch stream, and then I could have I'd have the rest of the weekend to myself. So as it is already. And then the hours of 10 till 2. I can do administrative stuff, home life, exercise, shopping, like functioning, like daytime functioning stuff. Pay your taxes. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, this color thing that I'm doing. That's how it's feeling. Zero up top. I just can continue blending this in though. We can at least start here. We'll figure out where it goes. I don't normally color behind text like this, so this is going to end up being smudged out or like blocked off or something. Text, what's up? Yeah, so far so good. Nice. And black and green are the general colors that we're using for Mabar. So there's a lot of green and black. So having it as a background, it feels like it makes sense. And it's yeah, I think this in general should barely read as a greenish, I'm sure. Yeah, barely green, like just off gray green. So, thank you for the affirmation. It's I follow my gut, I follow my instincts on this stuff, and it's wonderful how often it turns out okay. I've still got a half hour left. I'll probably stop after 20 minutes. But we're going to put an emerald claw symbol here. We're going to put the Red Wolves emblem here. And then we just have villagers here, no emblems. Continue blending this in.
I'm not used to working with pages this large. It's a 10 by 17 page document. That's a very large file size that we're basically going to be dropping into this book. The way that this works is that we have basically like one of these boxes. Hold on, where is it? Like these little boxes here. We basically put one the size of the page on every page, and we drop it into the background. So we have a high res. We're gonna have to drop the resolution of this thing down to like the 72 dpi for just the background coloring, as it were. And then we'll either bind the image directly into the page, or add additional shapes on top of the background for when we drop it all into the actual art. It's like when we finish the page that we're currently working on, like we could just make I could just go like this with insert and then shape, and then grab one of these squares, right? And then I make a square the size of the page, and then just drop in this illustration that we're working on directly behind all of the text on the page. We take this and we go to behind text. It's there, you can see. And then if I were to change fill the color in with something like this instead, see the text starts to pop out a little bit more. Anyway, so this becomes an image that we drop in here, so we have to drop the resolution of the general background color of this thing to be a really low resolution, so it doesn't completely just destroy the RAM processing of this huge document. It's a big fucking document. It's currently a 60,000 word document over 103 pages, with each page being 17 inches by 10 inches. So it's fucking huge. It's actually more like, if you double that, so it's more like a 200 page, like if it was 8.5 by 11, a normal sheet of paper, it'd be a 200 page document, which is by far just the largest fucking thing I've ever built. And I honestly don't know how well Word is going to be able to chew on that size of a thing. So I'm a little nervous about it all, but it'll probably end up all okay. I'm going to take this and erase this a bit just to bring that down. So when I end stream today, here in the documents, we've got these first 7 pages, right, that we're working on in the document right now. Those go to here, and then here's the start of part 1, and then we're going to go all the way down, and we've finished the formatting for Appendix 2 and Appendix 3, which is like the back 25 pages of the book here. Yeah, here's the start of Appendix 2. So these pages here, these are monster pages, like from here through here. These are monsters and NPCs. But I haven't quite figured out what the format is supposed to be for monsters and NPCs, because we haven't seen a lot of information about how 2024 changes. So I have all this information sequestered here, but I haven't actually processed it yet. That's going to be the monster, the monster stat blocks will be the last thing that I do inside of the book. But from here, the end of page 3, part 3, and then we'll sweep up across the document. These are all this is all text that's been broken apart into its individual sections. But I haven't actually cleaned up the text properly to be like, this is the final thing, right? I haven't gotten there yet. But these are all of through here. Zooming out. Shaboobity, thank you. Yeah, these are all the pages I still have to do. So when I jump offline, I'll just go to the first act, and we'll start working our way through the village, and so I should be able to. I'll have the village done before we have page 1 to 7 artwork done. We'll have Act 2 done before we have Appendix 2 and 3 done, and we'll have Part 3 done before we have the art for Part 1 and 2 done. So we'll just keep pushing through the document and filling in art as we go along to complete the full book. And then once we get there, we'll package up all the assets as tokens and stuff like that in a zip folder. We'll publish it, and then we'll move on to the next project. And by the time we get done with all that stuff, Martial Powers should be finished playtesting, and we'll be ready to send that off to an editor to clean up, and we'll be able to start working on the book cover for Martial Powers. So when we get it back from the editor, we'll be able to start doing the layouts and stuff. And in the meantime, while we're doing that, we'll be able to rebuild Pacts and Patrons, Point Warlocks, Knights and Tricksters, core mechanics, revise spell list, get all that stuff resolved as well while we're doing all of that. So I suspect we'll have this published in March, and then we'll have Martial Powers completed and published in maybe November. And we might already have a number of the mana books already resolved, like Pacts and Patrons will probably be done in December. Point Warlocks, December along with it. Pacts and Patrons and Point Warlocks, get them done together. Knights and Tricksters we can probably have done by February. Not sure what to do with Elemental Key yet, but we can certainly update it. The name is quote unquote dated now that they call key focus now. Like elemental focus it just doesn't feel the same, you know. But if I just build it for the monk, it's not like elemental magic. Like that'd be a full supplement about like how to convert Date schools and spell slots into an elemental magic system, and I don't know if I want to give that to them on the DM's Guild directly. Like that overall work, I think I'm just going to stick with the Way of the Four Elements. I know they have the Elementalist monk now replacing the Way of the Four Elements, but it's still a viable half-class casting idea that I want to retain. So we're going to do that. I'm almost happy with the blending of this background here. So the text behind the words is going to end up being blank, just like all down here. It's just I'm adding this in right now just for the consistency of the gradient. Man, I'm sad. Surrogate got canceled. That was a cool TV show. It was on HBO. It lasted one season. It had the chick from Kick-Ass in it. It was a pretty good show, and it was sad to see it canceled. Chaos, the modern day Greek god show with Jeff Bloom in it, that apparently got canceled. That was an excellent show. Chaos was a really good show. I was legitimately interested in seeing where that was going to go, and it's sad to see that they killed it. Evil, the Paramount TV show Evil, that got killed. That's a damn shame. At least they knew it was coming, so they were able to like quickly taper off a conclusion of the show, which was far too rushed. But enjoying Tulsa King this season is good. From season 3, I think it's a season 3. Yeah, from it's okay. It's starting to feel more and more like Lost, which will ultimately probably disappoint me. But I still don't know where the show is going, and it's got weirdness that's happening, and they're still expanding it, so it doesn't feel like it's meandered off into a dead end somewhere. Just want a really smooth, gradual gradient. We'll sculpt and taper it once we get to that point. Blend, blend, blend. Blend, 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 blend. Endless blending. No ending to the blending. Ever so offending. But time for a sip of coffee. With this much blending, I need a nice dark blend. Oh, that's satisfying.
Oh. So how do you stop your players from being murder hobos?
Make them interested in what is going on. The only reason murder hobos are murder hobos is because your characters are bored. They want to be killing something, and you're not giving them something interesting to kill, so they're just going to kill the first thing that they run across. If they think your plot lines are contrived, they're going to murder everyone that presents additional contrivances to your plot. If they think that that there's too much storyline, they're going to kill anything that presents story because they're attempting to limit the DM's ability to engage with content or to engage the characters with content that they are not interested in. Murder hobos are people that are incapable of communicating their feelings. They just turn into psychotic killing machines because it's the only way that they need to deal with a situation that they don't want to be in. People play role-playing games to escape reality, but if you drop them into a scenario where they feel powerless and exploited, then they're going to be able to respond with fantasy reactions, which will be kill you, murder. We will murder you. That is what most dictators fear about treating their nation poorly, is that they will get strung up. It is the natural reaction of angry humans is to kill whatever it is that represents that frustration. I've never had a problem with characters being murder hobos unless they're fucking bored. Period. And I've done that. I have many occasions in my training as becoming a hopefully decent DM is being able to recognize what do they actually want to do. What is this aligning? Is what they're doing right now aligning with what we said we were going to be doing? Are they enjoying it? Because you can bait and switch what your campaign's about if they love it. If they don't, you're fucked. It's that simple. It really is. The only reason people are hobos is because you don't have compelling content. You don't know what your audience wants. The audience is letting you know what they want through blood. They're letting you know what they don't want. There you go. I feel like maybe.
I see it. What's up? Oh, thanks.
Right on, man. Well, you know, like they say, there's nothing to it but to do it. But you go ahead and bide your time and build your confidence to be in a place where you feel like you can get it done. But ultimately, you gotta just jump. And where is that coming from? Yeah. People. There. Let's blend this through. That'll help. Oh ho ho, we're discovering things. We are discovering things, aren't we? Blend that in. I've been watching Travelers again on Netflix. I'm up to the 14th episode. Travelers is such a fucking great TV show. It's a Netflix original. It's about time travelers traveling back to the 21st century to save the world in the future from destroying itself by humans being human and stupid. So they're trying to stop humans from being stupid. Too late. Okay, so what happens if I take this and I drop it down to here? Oh, that seems to work okay. I merge that down. Not bad. Not bad, not perfect. Not bad. That'll help. I'm probably ultimately going to just end up merging this background with this background. I'll be able to just get rid of that smudgery, but I don't feel like I'm there yet. Oh, that's where my problem is. Thank you. There we go. Now we're getting it all figured out. Feeling better. Feeling much, much better. Good. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Wipe that out a little bit, smudge it in. Good. Like that. Good. Okay, so that is like that. Let's fold that all up. Middle. Plug that in. Where are we at on time? Oh, geez, it's 7:50. Okay, 11:50. Oops. I'm gonna have to bounce out of here in a minute. Get that all worked in. Endless futzing with this stuff. It's just endless. So I'm going to have to call the market at some point, and here's probably as good as any. So let's go ahead and erase. Put another dot. just lining up these spaces here to be like I can reasonably put like the Emerald Claw symbol in this space. I can reasonably have the Red Wolf badge here in that space, and I can potentially have like this faded background, like more forest extending here into the Gray of the Manifest zone here with crackling energy and stuff like this behind here. That'd be an interesting little cascade that we can do. I like that idea. So I'm gonna let this sit here and hit save. This is the work. Something else that we're going to need to do is figure out the trim, the filigree and stuff that's going to go along the bottom margin here. If we're going to have any up the sides, if we do have them up the sides, are we also going to do a column splitter so that we have something going up the sides here? So this is actually a three pane format that could potentially break frame of illustrations going across multiple columns, or do I want to have that three pane frame that the illustration goes over the front of the frames? And if I have a frame, do I also want to have a filigree at the top of the page? So one of the things that we're going to do, I think what we're going to do next, before we continue with this illustration, we're going to figure out the page filigree. So we'll lock that down. We'll start doing that on Monday morning. And once we figure out what's because we need to be able to frame the page and be able to contain it. That gives us a way for us to have like an end to these images rolling off the page. If we have a hard frame, then the illustration cuts at that frame. It's this is a vignette where there is no set frame ending. It just kind of fades out into the natural space that the object holds, in this case the page. But if we build a frame here, it creates an artificial endpoint that this stuff will just flow into and then hit and then end. So I want to figure that stuff out so we can figure out how to to frame the rest of this illustration before we move through it. But and as we continue going through the document, we'll be continuing to use the different creature and NPC token assets that we created, as well as the maps themselves as visual assets. So here on the front 7 page is more of a narrative space, as well as Appendix 2 and 3. That's not technical. I mean, it's relevant, but it's more narrative in nature than it is game rules. So we have more space to play with impressionism and surrealist art, and just to be able to create interesting illustrations that are more focused on providing flavor and context than they are technical information needed to conduct the adventure. So we have those two different gears that we get to pull, technical versus narrative. And so the front and the back end of the book are more narrative by nature, and as we get into the chunk, like the crunch of the mechanics throughout the book, that's when we provide all of the mechanical information about the tokens and the maps and diagrams and stuff like that. And then while we go through that process, any little corner bits or little pockets where there's blank space that feels like it should be filled with something, then we can pepper in a little bit more narrative flavor to add context to whatever mechanical information we're providing on any given page. So narrative stuff up front, diving deeper into technical information throughout the document, and then we come out the back end of it with like visual images of the monsters. That's a blend of narrative and technical. And then Appendix 2, we get into items and oddities, which is also more narrative information, framing the technical information on the page. And then Appendix 3 with alternate plot hooks and expanding the adventure. That's all narrative space with some suggestions and maybe some tables, but no real hard mechanics for adventuring. It's all just ideas and ideation and how to blend things. So it becomes narrative and symbolic again at the end. So I like that curve. I like how it sits. I'm really excited. I'm liking this stuff in general. I think we've got a lot of really great potential. I'm looking forward to seeing this progress. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here for now. Monday, when we're back in, again, we're going to be doing page dressing in the morning, filigree and page design. And then Monday night, we'll continue working on martial powers. I guess we'll start working on dungeon design. Maybe we'll work with. I like the idea of Oops All Warlocks for the playtesting, but I think I'll hold off on that until 5th or 6th level. So I think 3rd and 4th level we'll just do martial power stuff. So I'm going to start designing our mega dungeon. I guess Monday night. There you go. So, yeah, like, subscribe, bell icons, join my Discord, check out my books, support me on Patreon if you want to throw me some money. Thanks, appreciate it. And but I'll be back and I'll keep doing this stuff until I die. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Laters.